Elton is kinda hard to understand. Like, it seems he just wants a wealthy wife.
I was like, he's a creep. But she said, no, he's not. He's a creep in crisis, which is true. He's definitely a creep in crisis. Someone who genuinely believes that they are deeply attractive.
Bear witness.
And that they are God's gift, and that they are a kind of divine creation. This is what Elton believes. He's not speaking. It's like the sermon starts and suddenly God is using his body as a vessel. It wasn't Elton anymore, it's God.
For in thy sight!
No one preaches as Mr. Elton does.
I love that Elton says innocent in the end, because in the beginning he says it in a strange way.
Of man's great innocence.
Innocence? Innocence?
And I wasn't actually sure if this was a joke because I watched the French trailer and there he says it like this.
Baigne dans une grande innocence.
Innocence? Innocence? No?
And as soon as I heard the French version, I was like, oh, was this like a joke in English? And I wasn't sure if they only made a joke on the pronunciation, that he as a vicar should know how to pronounce English correctly. Then in the end he says it correctly.
Dearly beloved friends, we gather here in the sight of God to join together this man and this woman in holy matrimony. An honourable estate instituted by God in the time of man's great innocence.
And I think Alton saying innocence correctly at the end of the film also shows how he has grown as a person.
But
Enough about Mr. Elton.
Okay, we're moving on.
Mrs. Augusta Elton.
He's married. Cannot be a long acquaintance. He's only been gone 6 weeks.
This is Tanya's explanation on why they married. And Josh being the ever so supportive husband. So Miss Elton is nouveau riche, which sometimes gets looked down on by the old money. So the costume designer dressed her a bit over the top. I mean, the hairstyle, which is set in a 1830s hairstyle. Her clothes are not in an 1830s style, it seems though. It's a style I actually find quite romantic. And maybe the indicated idea here was to showcase that her family hasn't been rich for that long. So because of that, her taste wouldn't be as refined by old money standards.
And I must give her snaps for her courageous fashion effort.
It is a sort of thing which I should not have thought myself privileged to inquire into.
The viewer gets the same sensation as all the rest of the characters do, since the viewer is used to an 1850s style of dressing, and even he will be aware that Mrs. Elton's 1830 style is different, especially by her bright colors she chose. For example, the tea dress, the time of day she chose also to put those colors on, because for example, when Emma wears her sleeveless jacket, it's during evening time, so she seems a bit overdressed. But that's just to accentuate her personality, which is also overbearing apparently. In the staircase scene where she talks about how the stairs are placed in the exact same position, shows her overbearing personality again.
I observed how very like the staircases, placed in exactly the same part of the house.
Yeah, houses at the time, they were just built symmetrically.
The Georgians loved symmetry, it was in all their architecture.
She would know that if she were not a nouveau riche. What I like about the styles that shows from Miss Elton is that it's not something ugly as they normally tend to do, but they chose a style that will be in later on, so she can't really be mocked for it. But I also kind of like, and I don't know if this was intentional or not, that they put this 1830s style on Mrs. Elton, because it is too much for the 1815s style, even though their hairstyles were already elaborated and like a lot of work. But the fact that they did choose the 1830s hairstyle for Mrs. Elton also kind of indicates that she's a visionary, because it's like not in yet, and I don't think anyone has actually done it. Her father had to be a visionary in order to make money through trade. I kind of like that actually. And I don't know if she tries to overcome her nouveau riche status, because what she wears is opposite to what she says.
I don't know whether it is not over-trimmed. I have the greatest dislike to the idea of being over-trimmed. Quite a horror of finery. Of course, I must put on a few ornaments now, because it is expected. A bride, you know, must appear like a bride, but my natural taste is all for simplicity.
This is the last thing I wanted to mention. I don't know if this hat is a nod to those caricatures I found that were made to mock this new emerging hat trend in the 1830s. It's a Spanish caricature. Her hat is much higher in shape than all the others. I found this painting by chance. I just typed in 1830s style, but now I'm wondering whether or not it actually had been used as a reference for her style. To finish it all, the actor did this photo shoot with Autumn the Wild, and she looks lovely.